Look, if you're feeling this economy, there's no way that you're buying what they're selling right now.
Absolutely.
So the polling is inflated. It always is. It's a brand new, shiny new object. And,
That's right.
and Barack and Michelle last night were really selling it for Kamala and so on and so forth. Well, they pretty much had to because she was next door at a fundraiser in Wisconsin.
Right.
America's better than
It's
this.
a true point.
Yes,
we have
spot
sovereignty as a nation. I don't care how you vote.
Thank you.
I don't care what you think. What I know is this is the United States of America, and if they broke laws to get here, don't spend another dime on them. Deport them. What did we get yesterday? We got more of what she says on the campaign. I was watching you guys earlier. You can do the side-by-sides and see how she keeps repeating herself and so on. My big question today is, you had, and look, this is no disrespect to Eugene and Garen and Tanya who were doing the job. You did not have network anchors up there, though, who do TV every day. And it was a different feel about it, or at least do that pressure cooker type of what we do. The big stars in the party carry her flag for her, and the media does, some of them too.
Yeah,
I mean,
what a shame.
Who gets a pass like that?
What a disappointment the media has been for all of us, really letting down the American people.
Harris Faulkner just made an unexpected, huge announcement that has left her audience stunned. Known for her sharp commentary and insightful reporting, this revelation is something no one saw coming. With her poised and powerful delivery, Harris is addressing an issue that could have far-reaching implications, whether it's about her personal journey, a professional shift, or a bold stance on a major topic. This announcement is bound to spark conversation and leave a lasting impact on both her fans and critics alike. Stay tuned as Harris takes center stage in a way that's sure to surprise everyone.
Saw in Chicago is their annual conference. So any venue that they would have booked by NABJ would have been much larger than, basically a campaign stop. And by the way, NABJ promised, it came out in all of its language, that this was a journalism event and that this was not politics. On all the campaign materials, this was a campaign stop. Well, I'm a little concerned about when you get 51 experts and they have anything to do with our economy, our national security. How often are they this wrong?
Yes.
I mean, we happen to know about this time, but if these are the people that they're consulting on a regular basis, it might explain a lot of the failure that we see. And should we maybe bump some of those people out of the circle? Like, Biden promised that if somebody wasn't doing the right thing on day one, remember the 1,000-person Zoom or whatever it was? And he was saying, I'm going to get rid of whoever doesn't do their job or is not kind. And he had all the things. And of course, he hasn't really applied that promise. But this would be a place, well, maybe those are the people you shouldn't be listening to. And by the way, can you tell us where else they haven't been right so that we can prepare for that? I am shocked by this because I didn't realize we'd migrated so far as a society that we would give criminals who potentially have come across the border illegally the same rights that our people have, which have been mitigated so much by soft on crime policies. Like, I mean, it's gotten so much easier for the criminals and so much harder for the victims. And now the people who break our number one law first coming across the border, number one thing, like you didn't even get here legally, and then they get to do more crime against us. And then you let them go per the things that are on the books for the criminals who are American. Zero bail. Look no further than this case, and you know what's at stake for both of those presidential candidates Thursday night. It is Trump's border policies versus Biden's border politics. And if you want to know just how deep the politics go to the fact that even his Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas couldn't speak of one victim per name. Now, we've had enough of these situations that we're at a tipping point, I would imagine. Like, Biden's going to have to do more than just blame the Republicans. I don't know what Thursday night will look like, but on this Monday, that court, oh my goodness, they saw that mom who was so brave before the microphones today, sitting just feet away from one of the monsters who took her little girl. I remember that moment so vividly because it was the opposite of what anybody would do. Anybody would show you civility. This was July 31st. July 13th, he had been shot in the first assassination attempt on his life. The journalists couldn't even start there with, we're glad you're okay. This is your first opportunity to talk with this group of people, and we're glad you've come today. You know that we're going to ask tough questions. You know that there might be some in the audience who wish that they were asking the tough questions right now. I think that's how you put it. So I am actually surprised and shocked that we have gotten that far. But I don't want to be surprised or shocked about what has to happen next.
Yep.
I want to feel confident that we're going to do the right thing. And that is, if we think these guys came over illegally. I don't know how you don't mention how to make life better here in Chicago. You had Chicago's golden son on the dais last night at that convention, Barack Obama.
Yes, that's right.
And I now call him the closer, the commander and closer, because it was his job to just close the door on Biden. Too bad it wasn't his job when he was in office not to close the door on crime, or at least draw attention to it in his own home city. And he missed that opportunity again last night. Look, she's not day one ready to fight the kind of crime that we're seeing here. It's worse here than it is in New York, at least statistically. It's less random here, perhaps, because it is in some certain concentrated areas. But murder is murder. And anybody can be a target. And we're seeing those numbers tick right back up. And it's really, really disconcerting when you're in the middle of it. The part that you didn't show was the very top of that, when we all sat down first. And the comment was from the ABC News reporter there, this audience didn't want you here. Are you aware of that? I'm paraphrasing it a bit. It was actually a little less pleasant than that. But that was first out of the gate. So it was hostile. It felt like an ambush. And look, he took the bait. Vice President Kamala Harris's past is haunting her now. She pushed to eliminate private health insurance and force 150 million people onto a government plan. Americans are waiting to hear exactly what her current plan will be for their health care. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. This is a big issue for so many people, particularly those who are retired and on a budget. You got to know whether or not you can keep your doctor. The campaign totally flip-flopping on her 2019 position when she was running for president the first time and didn't get a single delegate on her side of the aisle. A senior official is telling Fox News that the VP, quote, will not push single payer or Medicare for all. There's no denying that. It turned into, right off the top, a pretty caustic situation. But what would any of us do if you think you're walking into making history at the NABJ, not by digital, not in a city that you would choose because it's on the campaign trail, Philadelphia, not any of that, but you're going into the largest audience of black journalists all year long. So that was big. Yeah, they're not any closer to getting the deal done. So unlike Trump, when he's asked the question about how you bring both sides in the Ukraine and Russia war, for instance, together, he would do it as president-elect. It would be a phone call. You watched the debate, you know.
Yeah.
No specificity on a place where, did you know that Washington State has 100,000 uncommitted voters from the primary? Like, I get it from Minnesota and Michigan, but that's the number that, so she might have wanted to reach out to that. Bottom line is, nobody pressed her. She didn't feel challenged. She sat back, seemed very comfortable, and that was different than how they treated the Republican candidate for the White House. Well, one thing that's different in past years, like 2016, 2020, is that people will talk to you about how they feel. So I think it's not just disingenuous, it's a lie.
Yeah.
When these leaders in the White House, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, say that they don't know how people feel and that suddenly it's news to her. You know how the polls are being impacted right now? They have a complicit legacy and liberal media to help them out.
That's right.
I mean, that's playing a role. And look, there are questions about, even with all of that, why is it so close?
Yeah.
Why can't she pull away? Because people see the truth, they're living it every day, and they still feel unheard. What is she saying there? I mean, it's the National Association of Black Journalists. When I asked Trump the first question I did, I said, look, there are many black communities. We're not all the same. We vote differently. We do things differently. I set it up in such a way that this is your audience. Why did she go there if she hadn't intended to talk specifically to a question that was asked about that audience? That was, look, if she didn't want to be there talking with whomever, that would be one thing. But black men in particular are a soft spot for her. And part of it is the lack of specificity around the idea of economics and how to change life. And, you know, for people who are really suffering right now. Another area that I thought was a tender spot for her, though, was the Palestinian situation. Hamas versus Israel after Hamas invaded and had a massacre on October 7th against the citizens of Israel. You know what he has that's the advantage in what we were talking about today with his independence is people already know who he is. And independents want that next level of, can you just tell me how you're going to make it better? And it didn't matter how many times the former prosecutor and Kamala Harris came out, and she landed some good ones too. And she was much more buttoned up than the giggly person that we usually see in the word salad and all of that. And that this was not politics. On all the campaign materials, this was a campaign stop. So that's, you know, what did we get yesterday? We got more of what she says on the campaign. I was watching you guys earlier. You can do the side-by-sides and see how she keeps repeating herself and so on.
In a bold and unfiltered statement, Harris Faulkner declared, "I'm exposing the whole damn thing," signaling a deep dive into a story that promises to unveil truths that many might prefer to keep hidden. Known for her incisive reporting and commitment to holding power accountable, Faulkner is not one to shy away from tough topics. This announcement has sparked intrigue and anticipation among viewers as she prepares to shed light on complex issues that demand attention and discussion. With her characteristic determination and journalistic rigor, Harris Faulkner is set to tackle a subject that could reshape public perceptions and ignite critical conversations.
You know what he has that's the advantage in what we were talking about today with his independence is people already know who he is. And independents want that next level of, can you just tell me how you're going to make it better? And it didn't matter how many times the former prosecutor and Kamala Harris came out, and she landed some good ones too. And she was much more buttoned up than the giggly person that we usually see in the word salad and all of that.
Harris Faulkner has solidified her position as one of the most recognized and respected figures in American news media, particularly through her work at Fox News. With a career that spans 2 decades, Faulkner has not only become an anchor, but also a formidable voice in political commentary and journalism.
And that this was not politics. On all the campaign materials, this was a campaign stop. So that's, you know, what did we get yesterday? We got more of what she says on the campaign. I was watching you guys earlier. You can do the side-by-sides and see how she keeps repeating herself and so on. My big question today is, you had...
Her journey is marked by a commitment to delivering news with clarity, integrity, and a sense of purpose, particularly as it pertains to the complexities of contemporary politics. As the host of The Faulkner Focus...
But she didn't go deep. She was on the shallow end of the pool for policies. You know, you've met Russian President Putin, and Trump came hard at her over how to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, and he has an idea. He talked about calling each. He told us his playbook on how he would do that. She doesn't have a playbook, and she can't have one if Biden's not with her to loan it to her.
Faulkner has created a platform that emphasizes both the presentation of news and the exploration of pressing issues facing the nation. Her show has gained a reputation for its direct approach, focusing on critical news stories while fostering discussion on topics that resonate with the public.
And look, this is no disrespect to Eugene and Garen and Tanya who were doing the job. You did not have network anchors up there, though, who do TV every day. And it was a different feel about it, or at least do that pressure cooker type of what we do. You know, having somebody not answer our question and then pushing back, you didn't have that up there on that stage.
Okay, but here's what you had in Chicago, okay?
We have a little bit of that? Oh, yeah, it was very different for Trump.
This format allows her to engage with viewers on a personal level, making them feel informed and involved in the broader dialogue about current events. Faulkner's career in journalism began with a strong educational foundation. Earning a degree in mass communication from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Her early experiences in local news reporting equipped her with the skills necessary to navigate the complexities of journalism.
Because they're the same. They're symbiotic. They are lockstep. How do we know? Because they keep telling us, even though now she wants to distance herself from him. So the independents are looking for her to go deep on policy. Yeah, they like a good debate. But it would have been better had they learned more about the woman they haven't known in 3.5 years. And by the way, Larry, why do we not know more about her? Is she like the worst messaging? artist? Is there something that she hasn't told us yet that we need to know?
Maybe she hasn't done more or studied more.
She honed her craft at various news outlets, including Los Angeles and Kansas City, before making her way to national platforms. This diverse background in news reporting has shaped her perspective and approach to journalism, enabling her to address a wide array of topics with depth and nuance.
I remember that moment so vividly because it was the opposite of what anybody would do. Anybody would show you civility. This was July 31st. July 13th, he had been shot in the first assassination attempt on his life. The journalist couldn't even start there with, "We're glad you're okay. This is your first opportunity to talk with this group of people, and we're glad you've come today. You know that we're going to ask tough questions." You've got 3 lines, and you know the blue line is going to go, precipitously down, just as if you looked at the
We
flip.
actually could, I don't know if we can put it up on the full screen.
Yeah, let's look at it. You know that there might be some in the audience who wish that they were asking the tough questions right now. I think that's how you put it. The part that you didn't show was the very top of that, when we all sat down first. And the comment was from the ABC News reporter there, "This audience didn't want you here. Are you aware of that?" I'm paraphrasing it a bit. It was actually a little less pleasant than that. But that was first out of the gate. So it was hostile. It felt like an ambush. And look, he took the bait. At least 3 out of 5 of the topics that we showed, the blue line, was going down, and then it flattened. And those topics were the economy. You know why? Because that's a universal feeling and experience. That the Biden-Harris White House messed up and Harris-Walz can't fix. There's no denying that. It turned into, right off the top, a pretty caustic situation. But what would any of us do if you think you're walking into making history at the NABJ, not by digital, not in a city that you would choose because it's on the campaign trail, Philadelphia, not any of that, but you're going into the largest audience of black journalists all year long. So that was big. So my big question for Kamala Harris is, why didn't you do better yesterday? I mean, it was a love fest. And it wasn't like what it was like for Trump.
Faulkner emphasizes the importance of clear communication and strives to present news that is not only accurate, but also relatable. Her style encourages viewers to engage critically with the information presented to them, fostering a more informed citizenry. In her role as a news anchor, Faulkner has consistently demonstrated her commitment to objectivity and fair reporting. She navigates the politically charged landscape of contemporary media with a steady hand, ensuring that her coverage is both balanced and informative. This dedication to impartiality has earned her respect among her peers and her audience.
Before November 5th, because if she could, don't you think she would try? So she stops getting the question of, and Trump scored well with independents and Republicans. So he gets 2 out of the 3 groups we looked at. That looks like 2016, according to the expert, Lee Carter, and she's my election guest every year when we do the live audience on those times.
Super smart.
So she says, look, when you get 2 out of the 3 and they track, her first words were, "I appreciate the spirit of the question," first of all. What is she saying there? I mean, it's the National Association of Black Journalists. When I asked Trump the first question I did, I said, look, there are many black communities. We're not all the same. We vote differently. We do things differently. I set it up in such a way that this is your audience. There were times, Larry, with certain topics, the border was one of them, where the tracking line for independents was going above the Republican line for Donald Trump and what he was saying. I mean, so he did better than what the spin artists were saying last night. I don't know how I feel about the spin room. I'm curious to know from your experience what you think. I always think it's a good thing for a candidate to go there. It gives them immediate access. It shows that if they had some failures, they're not afraid to walk into the wind.
People are smarter, though.
Why did she go there if she hadn't intended to talk specifically to a question that was asked about that audience? That was, look, if she didn't want to be there talking with whomever, that would be one thing. But black men in particular are a soft spot for her. And part of it is the lack of specificity around the idea of economics and how to change life. And, for people who are really suffering right now. Another area that I thought was a tender spot for her, though, was the Palestinian. also knows who he's debating. I know she likes to say, oh, I'm not Joe Biden and I'm not Donald Trump. No one thinks you are Kamala Harris. No one would ever confuse you except for with just the policy. But those are two men who've been around for a while. Joe Biden for 50 years. Situation. Hamas versus Israel after Hamas invaded and had a massacre on October 7th against the citizens of Israel. And they're fighting back. That's a war that the world would like to see come to an end. I'm sure Israel would too. They have to take out those killers first. So with all of that going on, she was asked, it was a coup, what they did to him. And Donald Trump knows who he's dealing with here. So when he says she's taking my policies, I need to give her a MAGA hat. It's a one-liner that everybody remembers the next day, right?
In a recent and unexpected revelation, Robin McGraw, the wife of famed television personality Dr. Phil, has brought to light some shocking details that have left many stunned. Known for her role as a supportive partner and for her own ventures in the wellness industry, Robin McGraw has generally maintained a private life despite her husband's immense public presence. However, during a candid discussion, she opened up about a deeply personal and previously undisclosed aspect of her life that has now captured widespread attention. This revelation not only sheds light on the challenges she's faced behind the scenes, but also adds a new dimension to the public's understanding of the couple's long-standing marriage.
What's the issue?
Well, Steve, he's got a mistress.
Oh.
And let me just say this one thing about her. She is a real bitch. I brought some proof.
Dr. Phil McGraw, the television personality known for his straightforward advice and no-nonsense approach, has built a brand that resonates with millions. His long-running show, Dr. Phil, has brought countless personal and family issues to light, offering a platform for individuals to seek help and share their stories. But behind the scenes, there's a story that has remained largely untold until now. Robin McGraw, Dr. Phil's wife of many years, has typically maintained a supportive yet quieter role in comparison to her husband's public persona. However, recent events have changed that narrative, bringing Robin to the forefront in a way that few expected. Robin McGraw has always been more than just the woman beside Dr. Phil. She's an author, entrepreneur, and advocate in her own right, with a particular focus on issues of domestic violence and women's health. Over the years, she has cultivated her own following, particularly through her books and her lifestyle brand, which emphasize self-care and empowerment. But while Robin has always projected an image of strength and resilience, recent revelations have shown that her journey has not been without its challenges. The couple's marriage, spanning over 4 decades, has been a subject of public interest ever since Dr. Phil first rose to fame. Their relationship, often highlighted on the show, has been portrayed as one built on mutual respect, love, and understanding. Dr. Phil has frequently credited Robin with being his rock, supporting him through the ups and downs of his career. Yet, as with any long-term relationship, there have been struggles, some of which have only recently come to light. Robin McGraw recently shared a deeply personal account of her life that had remained hidden from the public eye. In a candid discussion, she revealed that she had undergone significant challenges, including a major health scare that she had kept private for many years. Robin disclosed that she had undergone surgery to correct a condition known as ptosis, a medical issue that causes the eyelid to droop, impairing vision and affecting appearance. While the surgery itself was successful, Robin shared that the decision to undergo the procedure was not an easy one, and it brought to the surface a range of emotions tied to self-image and aging. For years, Robin had faced scrutiny from the public and the media, with rumors circulating about potential cosmetic procedures. Despite the speculation, Robin remained silent, choosing not to address the whispers that followed her. However, her recent decision to speak openly about her surgery was driven by a desire to set the record straight and to encourage others to feel empowered to make decisions about their own health and well-being without fear of judgment. Robin's decision to share her story has resonated with many, particularly women who face similar pressures related to aging and appearance. In a society that often places undue emphasis on physical appearance, Robin's openness about her journey has been both refreshing and inspiring. She has used her platform to not only dispel myths about her own life, but also to start a broader conversation about the importance of self-care and the right to make personal health decisions without stigma. This revelation has also added a new layer to the public's understanding of the McGraw's marriage. Dr. Phil, known for his strong opinions and advice on relationships, has often spoken about the importance of communication and honesty in a partnership. Robin's decision to reveal such a personal part of her life publicly has highlighted the depth of their relationship and the trust that exists between them. It has also shown that despite the challenges they have faced, the couple remains committed to supporting each other through thick and thin. Beyond the personal implications, Robin's story has had a ripple effect, prompting discussions about the pressures faced by public figures, particularly women, in maintaining a certain image. The scrutiny that comes with fame can be relentless, and for someone like Robin, who has been in the public eye for so long, the pressure to appear a certain way can be overwhelming. Her decision to address these issues head-on has not only been a powerful statement of self-acceptance, but also a call to others to embrace their own journeys, regardless of what others may think. Robin's revelation about her surgery is not the only challenge she has faced in her life. In interviews, she has also spoken about the difficulties of balancing her own identity with the demands of being married to a high-profile figure like Dr. Phil. While their relationship has always been one of mutual respect, Robin has had to navigate the complexities of maintaining her own sense of self while being part of a public couple. Robin McGraw's journey is a testament to the strength that comes from facing challenges head-on and the courage it takes to be vulnerable in the public eye. By sharing her personal struggles, she has not only dispelled misconceptions, but also inspired countless others to embrace their own stories with honesty and self-acceptance. Her openness has added a deeper dimension to the public's understanding of her life with Dr. Phil, highlighting the resilience and authenticity that define her. As Robin continues her advocacy and empowers others through her story, she has firmly established herself as a significant figure in her own right, proving that true strength lies in embracing both our struggles and our triumphs. Her story has deepened the public's understanding of her life with Dr. Phil, revealing the depth of their partnership and the strength that comes from facing difficulties together. As Robin continues her advocacy and empowers others through her experiences, she has firmly established herself as a significant and influential figure in her own right. Tensions flared during what was supposed to be a routine discussion between former President Donald Trump and Fox News host Sean Hannity. Instead, the conversation took an unexpected turn, spiraling into an awkward on-stage clash that left audiences buzzing. The viral moment has sparked widespread discussion, with many questioning the dynamic between the longtime allies. Let's dive into the details of this uncomfortable exchange and what it could mean for their relationship moving forward.
Trump, everybody, now I'm not saying it, but he said it because I'd rather say respect, but he said everybody was afraid of Trump. You bring him back, you're not going to have any problems. It's all going to go away. The world is blowing up. The world is blowing up.
The tension between Donald Trump and Sean Hannity has always been a point of interest for both supporters and critics alike. Known for their strong alliance, their relationship seemed almost unbreakable throughout Trump's presidency. Hannity, a Fox News host, often served as a vocal supporter of Trump. Jordan Peterson just dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming, exposing critical points that everyone else missed in the debate. Known for his sharp intellect and deep analysis, Peterson's insights have left people questioning what they thought they understood about the discussion. His breakdown reveals gaps in logic, overlooked arguments, and underlying issues that completely change the narrative. As the world reacts to his eye-opening take, it's clear that Peterson has once again shifted the conversation in a way only he can.
I was just watching a congressman from the U.S. today claiming that the critics of Biden after the last debate are ableist.
Yeah.
In a highly anticipated debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Both came prepared to defend their records and attack their opponent's vision for the future. The encounter was full of real, impactful moments that hadn't been seen before, delivering a memorable exchange that left both their supporters and critics with much to dissect. The debate began with the topic of leadership and accountability. Harris wasted no time bringing up the COVID-19 pandemic and Trump's handling of it. She criticized the chaotic response under his administration, highlighting the staggering death toll and the miscommunication around public health measures.
It doesn't matter whether the President of the United States is able, because all discrimination between being able and unable is a form of prejudice, and that even applies with regards to the President of the United States. And so that means that all the people who are concerned that there might be something astray with him cognitively, that we're being lied to about at a level that's almost inconceivable.
Harris emphasized how the Biden administration had worked to repair the damage by accelerating vaccine distribution and rebuilding trust in science and health institutions. She drove home the point that lives were lost due to negligence, framing the debate as a matter of life and death that shouldn't be ignored. Trump fired back, defending his administration's handling of the pandemic. He claimed that without his quick action to close borders and push Operation Warp Speed, the pandemic's toll would have been far worse. Trump emphasized the rapid development of the vaccine under his administration, calling it a historical achievement. He argued that the economy was roaring back because of his initial policies and accused the Biden administration of unnecessarily prolonging lockdowns, damaging businesses, and creating inflation. Trump tried to paint Harris as part of an administration that was harming American workers. The economy, always a centerpiece in Trump's platform, was another flashpoint.
I just finished a book, which is going to be published in November, and I walked through a sequence of biblical stories trying to explain what they meant psychologically. And I spent some time on the book of Exodus for obvious reasons. And there's a commandment in there that people misapprehend. So I think it's the third commandment. Don't use God's name. Thou shalt not use the Lord's name in vain. And people think that means don't swear or curse. And it sort of means that. There's a peripheral meaning that is associated with that casual use of the sacred, let's say. But that isn't what it means.
Trump highlighted the economic boom before the pandemic, citing record low unemployment, deregulation, and tax cuts that, according to him, spurred growth. He argued that the Biden-Harris policies were burdening businesses with unnecessary regulation and higher taxes, making it harder for the middle class to thrive. Trump turned to Harris and asked pointedly, "How do you expect to help the American people by taxing them more in a time when they need relief?" Harris, not backing down, laid out the Biden administration's approach to economic recovery, saying that the economy Trump touted had had left too many people behind. She argued that the tax cuts primarily benefited the wealthiest Americans and corporations, further widening income inequality. Harris explained how the Biden administration was working to rebuild a more equitable economy with investments in infrastructure, green energy, and technology designed to create jobs for the future. She countered Trump's tax argument, saying that his policies failed the working class and that a more balanced approach was necessary to ensure long-term prosperity. Healthcare quickly became one of the debate's most heated issues. Harris fiercely defended the Affordable Care Act, ACA, and discussed the Biden administration's efforts to lower prescription drug costs and expand coverage. She accused Trump of relentlessly attacking the ACA during his presidency without offering a viable alternative, putting millions of Americans' healthcare at risk. People's lives are on the line when they can't afford to see a doctor or fill a prescription. You had 4 years to fix it, and you made it worse, Harris said, driving home the point that the Trump administration's healthcare approach was disastrous. Trump, as expected, pushed back hard, criticizing the ACA as a disaster. He argued that Obamacare made healthcare more expensive for many Americans and reduced the quality of care. Trump suggested that a market-based solution would allow more competition and drive down prices. He continued to tout his efforts to bring transparency to hospital pricing and lower prescription drug costs, saying his policies worked for everyday Americans. He framed Harris as someone who supported a government takeover of healthcare, which he claimed would limit choice and increase costs. On foreign policy, the clash between the two candidates was equally sharp. Trump touted his administration's peace deals in the Middle East, negotiations with North Korea, and the tough stance on China. He described himself as a leader who took bold steps to put America first, focusing on economic and military power to ensure the U.S. remained strong on the global stage. Trump took credit for reducing American involvement in costly wars, saying that he kept his promise to bring troops home while protecting American interests abroad. Harris, however, called Trump's foreign policy reckless and dangerous. She argued that his unpredictable actions, particularly his cozying up to authoritarian leaders, undermined America's moral standing and long-term security. Harris emphasized the importance of diplomacy, partnerships with allies, and a stable approach to international relations. She highlighted the Biden administration's focus on rebuilding relationships with NATO and re-engaging with global challenges like climate change and nuclear proliferation. Our allies didn't know where America stood under your leadership, and that made us weaker, not stronger, Harris charged. Perhaps the most explosive moment of the debate came when Harris turned the discussion toward the January 6th Capitol riot. She directly called out Trump for his role in inciting the violence, stating that his refusal to accept the results of a democratic election posed a threat to the very foundation of the country. The American people deserve better than a leader who fuels division and lies about our democratic process, Harris said, looking directly at Trump as she spoke. Trump didn't back down, continuing to question the integrity of the 2020 election. Despite the lack of evidence supporting his claims of widespread voter fraud, he reiterated his belief that election reforms were needed to secure the process, portraying himself as a champion of election integrity. However, Harris didn't let up, insisting that Trump's rhetoric had directly endangered lives and undermined democracy itself. Throughout the debate, the contrast between Harris's methodical approach to policy and Trump's instinct for the big, headline-grabbing moment was clear. Harris tried to steer the conversation back to specifics and policies, framing herself as a leader focused on real solutions. She positioned herself as someone who understood the complexities of governance and the need for competent, steady leadership. Trump, meanwhile, focused on connecting with his base by painting himself as the anti-establishment figure still fighting against Washington elites. He worked to energize his supporters by framing Harris as part of a political machine that doesn't understand or represent everyday Americans. David Muir just exposed a critical detail that everyone else missed during the debate.